Hey guys, Omaha here. Today I'm going to be showcasing all of the Wildshape forms for the Circle of Moon subclass for the Druid for levels 1 through 12. So to start off with level 2, you're going to get your subclass, and you're going to get the ability to Wildshape, and you can see at the bottom it's a bonus action. And you're going to get 5 forms to start with. First one is the Wildshape Badger. Lets you burrow underground, and he starts out with 13 hit points. Alright, so here we have the Badger. He has a burrow ability, which lets you burrow into the ground and emerge at a target position, possibly knocking nearby creatures prone. And when he's prone, he can't move or take actions, bonus actions, or reactions, and has disadvantage in strength and dexterity saving throws. Attacks against the prone creature have advantage if they're made within 10 feet of the creature. It also has to use half his movement speed to stand up. He's also got a bite that does 4 to 10 damage of piercing. And a claw attack that does 4 to 10 damage of slashing. Another thing I forgot to mention is you get this ability for all of your wild forms, and it's a Lunar Mend. It lets you expend spell slots to regain hit points while you're in your wild shape. That's pretty useful because, as some of you know, you get separate health pools for each of your creatures as well as your main character. So if you go down while you're in your wild shape form, say you go down to 0 HP, you'll actually just revert back to the Druid normal form with whatever HP you had going into that form. So then you can just transform again for your second time because you get 2 per rest, and you'll have another health pool for that second creature as well. And then once that one dies, you go back to the Druid form again. But if you die in the regular human form, or whatever race you are, then you're done. Second one is the Spider. It lets you enweb enemies, and he starts out with 20 hit points. So this is the giant spider. He has an arachnid jump that lets you jump up, down, and across. Your strength determines how far you can jump. Right now it's 37 feet for me. You can get a pretty high place.
One day I'll catch a break.
He's also got this web attack, which lets you expel a thick flammable webbing that slows creatures within and possibly enwebs them. So as you can see, he's enwebbed, which makes it so he cannot move. Attack rolls against the affected entity have advantage, and while its attack rolls have disadvantage. It also has disadvantage on dexterity saving throws. Another cool thing about the webs is you don't take fall damage if you land on them. You can jump off really high areas and just land on webs and be totally fine. And finally, we have the Venomous Bite, which does 4 to 11 damage of piercing, and it possibly poisons the target. So as you can see, when he's poisoned, he suffers disadvantage on attack rolls and ability checks. Third one is the Wolf. Lets you incite allies and distract enemies. The Wolf starts out with 18 hit points. Alright, so this is the Wolf. He has the Inciting Howl ability, which let every ally within earshot can move an additional 10 feet during their next turn. He's also got a bite that does 5 to 15 damage of piercing. An Exposing Bite, which does 4 to 7 damage of piercing. If your attack hits, the next attack against the target from within 5 feet will be a critical hit. Fourth one's going to be the Cat. Lets you avoid attention and sneak into small areas. Also, you can meow to distract and kind of lure enemies. And that starts out with 2 hit points. Alright, next up we've got the Cat. I wouldn't recommend using this one for combat necessarily. 2 HP. But it has a meow attack that attracts the attention of nearby creatures and draws them closer to you. So you can use that to kind of set up your rogues or whatever for sneak attacks or get enemies in positions where you want to ambush them. He's got a little claw attack that does 2 damage. Finally, we have the Bear. That's going to let you have enemies be taunted, and you can goad them into attacking you. So you're kind of like the tank, and you start out with 30 hit points. Here we've got the Polar Bear. He's got a goading roar, which roar at nearby enemies to goad them into attacking you for 2 turns. So he's goaded now. Must attack the goading creature if possible. He's also got a claw attack that does 6 to 12 damage of slashing. Alright, so level 4 is when you get access to your next 2 wild shapes. First one being the Deep Brothe. Assume the shape of a Deep Brothe that casts dancing lights and charges its enemies. Deep Brothe has a starting health of 23 hit points. So here's the Deep Brothe. He has a Dancing Lights concentration spell, which illuminates a 30-foot radius. Good if you're traveling in the dark, you need to see. It is a concentration spell, so you can't get hit during it, or you might lose it. He's also got a charge attack that does 6 to 16 damage of piercing, and he charges forward, attacking all enemies in the way and possibly knocking them prone for 2 turns. Also doesn't provoke opportunity attacks. So that's really good if there's a group of guys and you want to knock them all down. You just charge into them and it hits everyone on the way there. And then finally he's got his Gore attack, which is 8 to 22 damage of piercing. The next one is the Dire Raven, which lets you take the shape of a dire raven that can avoid attention and blind enemies, and that one has 13 hit points. Here we have the Raven, which has the fly ability, lets you fly up 60 feet away to a target position. Super useful for trying to get to really hard to reach places. You can get anywhere with this thing. He has a Rend Vision ability, which does 4 to 12 damage of piercing, and it also blinds the creature for 2 turns. So the blind has a disadvantage on attack rolls, and the range of attacks and spells are reduced to 10 feet. Also, attack rolls against blinded creatures have advantage. And then he's got his Beak attack, which does 5 to 14 damage of piercing. Alright, so once you get to level 5, you're going to get a Wild Strike feature, which lets you make an additional attack after making an unarmed strike while you're in wild shape. Alright, level 6 is where it starts to get spicy. You get the Primal Strike feature, which, while you're in beast form, your attacks count as magical for the purpose of overcoming resistances and immunity to non-magical damage. You also get 2 more forms. You get the Panther, which lets you take the shape of a panther that can prowl around invisibly. So here we got the Panther, and he's got quite a bit going on. First thing he's got is Prowl, which lets you turn invisible while stalking your prey, and while invisible, your first attack deals an additional 1 to 8 damage. So you stay invisible until a long rest or until you break your concentration. So you can kind of snake around and get sneak attacks on people. Attack, which is 6 to 24 damage of piercing. So next we have the Pounce ability, which does 5 to 24 piercing damage. Leap at a target to bite it and knock it prone for 2 turns. The next ability we have is the Jugular Strike, which is 8 to 26 damage of piercing. If the target is prone, you'll deal an additional 4 to 14 piercing damage. So it's a good combination with the Pounce ability. Second one you get is the Owlbear. It lets you take the shape of an owlbear that can rupture the ground and become enraged. Next we have the big boy himself, the Owlbear. This Owlbear has quite a few abilities. First one, Crushing Flight. 3 to 20 damage of bludgeoning, lets you leap at a target and bite it to knock it prone for 1 turn. On a save, the target still takes half damage. This ability goes 70 feet, so you can really get pretty far with this thing. I'll show you guys how far you can go with it, really. Go from all the way over here. Look at that, that's crazy. That's an AoE too. Next ability we've got is the Rupture, 3 to 20 damage of bludgeoning. Lets you rupture the earth, causing debris to tear through nearby objects and creatures. On a save, target still takes half damage. That was an insta-kill. Alright, so the next ability we have is Enrage. Give into the owlbear's base instincts to increase your strength by 2, and possibly make nearby creatures fearful. Affected entity has disadvantage on ability checks and attack rolls, and must run from the source of its fear and can't make any additional actions. So that lasts 1 turn. The strength lasts for 3 turns. Now he's fearful, he's going to start running from me. And finally his last attack is Claws, which is 9 to 26 damage of slashing. Level 8, you're going to get access to the Saber-Tooth Tiger Wildshape. Take the shape of a saber-toothed tiger that can shred armor and regenerate hit points. Alright, so here's the saber-toothed tiger. As you can see here, he has a special ability of his own called Animalistic Vitality. Affected entity gains 2 to 16 hit points of health every round in combat. So for his first ability, it's going to be the same as the Panther, the Jugular Strike, which is 12 to 32 points of damage, all piercing. So you lunge at the creature's throat. If the target is prone, you deal an additional 6 to 16 piercing damage. The second attack is a Bite. It's a 7 to 24 damage of piercing. Finally, his third attack, Shred Armor, does 7 to 20 damage of slashing, and it rips into a target's weaknesses, reducing their armor class by 1, which basically makes them easier to hit. So as you can see, he's got Shredded Armor. Armor class has been reduced by 2, removed by healing. Saber-tooth Tiger also has the enhanced jump, along with the Panther. I think I forgot to mention that. You can jump pretty far, 57 feet, so you can get to pretty hard to reach places. Alright, level 10. This is where it starts to get really wild. First thing you're going to get is the improved Wild Strike, which lets you do 2 additional attacks after making an unarmed strike while in Wild Shape. So basically you can attack 3 times per turn, which is pretty nuts. Next form you're going to get is the Wild Shape Dilophosaurus. Take the shape of a Dilophosaurus whose corrosive spit can dissolve a target's armor class. Alright, so here's the Dilophosaurus. First ability is going to be Corrosive Spit, which is 3 to 24 damage of acid. Spray a target with corrosive fluids that slowly melt away its armor class. The target's armor class decreases by 1 per turn to a maximum penalty of -5. Water removes the spit and its effects. There's a range of 60 feet. Next attack we've got is the Pounce, which is 7 to 24 damage of piercing. Leap at a target to bite it and knock it prone for 2 turns. Range of 28 feet. And then finally, we've got the Bite, which is 7 to 30 damage, 1 to 10 damage of piercing, 1 to 12 damage of piercing, and then 1 to 8 damage of acid. And then you're going to get these 4. Wild Shape Air Myrmidon, I think I'm saying that right, Earth Myrmidon, Fire Myrmidon, and Water Myrmidon. Alright, next up we got the Water Myrmidon. He's got a main hand attack with his trident of 9 to 21 damage. 1 to 15 of it is piercing, and 1 to 6 is cold.
One day I'll catch a break.
Next attack we've got is Explosive Icicle, which does 3 to 24 damage of cold. You hurl 3 tridents forged of glistening ice that pierce targets, says piece. I think it's supposed to say pierce. Pierce targets and create ice surfaces on impact. The ice surfaces last for 2 turns. Basically, if they walk across that, they're gonna have it's difficult terrain, so movement speed is halved and creatures may fall prone. Next ability we have is the Hymal Strike, which is 10 to 31 damage, 1 to 15 of piercing, and 1 to 16 of cold. So you pierce a creature with your Frost Rim Trident and you chill it. Chilling affected entity is vulnerable to cold damage and resistant to fire damage. So that's for 2 turns.
No time for mercy.
Alright, next up we have a very unique and interesting ability. It's called Healing Vapors. This does 5 to 38 of healing. Exude water vapor with your general elemental dampness, healing nearby creatures. If you are poisoned, the water is tainted, and instead of healing, it deals 3 to 22 poison damage to nearby creatures. So it's a big AoE around you. And if you're poisoned, you're doing poison damage to everybody in that huge AoE. And then finally, we've got Fly, which is like the Dire Raven. You kind of fly to pretty far areas. Guess it kind of makes the Raven a little irrelevant, but you still got the blinding, I guess. Next up, we've got the Air Myrmidon. First ability is Electrified Flail, 10 to 33 damage, 1 to 15 of bludgeoning, and 1 to 18 of lightning. Cloud a foe with your lightning suffused flail and stun them. You stun them, they can't move or take actions, bonus actions, or reactions. That's for 2 turns. Next ability we have for the Air Myrmidon is the Raging Vortex. This is 2 to 16 damage of bludgeoning. Spiral the wind into a choking maelstrom that inflicts 2 to 16 bludgeoning damage per turn and silences creatures, and that lasts for 10 turns. So he's silenced, can't speak or cast spells with a verbal component, and is immune to thunder damage. Next up, we got invisibility just like the Panther. Manipulate the currents of the air to make yourself undetectable. It's a concentration again, so once you attack, you pop out of it, but lets you sneak up and get a sneak attack on an unsuspecting foe. So this guy also has the fly ability, same as the other ones. I'm not going to show it again, because I've already shown you a couple times, but you can fly up to 60 feet, just like the other ones. He's also, however, got an elemental warp. Surrounded by silver mist, you teleport to an occupied space you can see. So you can kind of teleport around too. So these guys are pretty mobile. And then finally, his main attack, main hand attack, is 9 to 23 damage, 1 to 15 of bludgeoning, and 1 to 8 of lightning. Alright, next up, we have the Fire Myrmidon, basically Sauron. And he has Fly and Elemental Warp, just like the previous two Myrmidons. His main hand attack does 9 to 19 damage of slashing and fire. Next up, he's got Myrmidon's Immolation, which ignite with incandescent primordial flames that hasten you. So the hastening lasts for 3 turns. The creature has +2 bonus to armor class, advantage on dexterity saving throws. Its movement speed is doubled, and it can take 1 additional action per turn. When the condition ends, the creature becomes lethargic. So lethargic is consumed by exhaustion. In the aftermath of haste, you can't move or take actions, bonus actions, or reactions. So that's the Myrmidon's Immolation. And then finally, we have Cinderous Swipe, which does 11 to 31 damage of fire and slashing. Create a blooming cone of fire as you swipe at a foe. On save, targets still take half damage. And he's gone. Alright, finally, we've got the Earth Myrmidon. Earth Myrmidon has Sludgy Sling, which is 2 to 12 damage of bludgeoning. Overwhelm creatures with painfully heavy sludge, murring the area around yourself in thick mud. So the mud is difficult terrain, movement speed is halved. Next up, we have the Burrow, which is 2 to 16 damage of bludgeoning. Let the ground swallow you up, only for you to re-emerge in a terrific burst of earth, damaging nearby foes. It's kind of like the Badger's Burrow ability. He's also got the Elemental Warp, just like all the other Myrmidons. And then we have Muck to Metal. Harden your slippery body into substance like steel, increasing your armor class by 2, but reducing your movement speed by 20 feet. So that lasts for 4 turns. That looks like it makes you a lot more tanky. See, now you're coated in metal. And then finally, we've got the Grounded Thunder Strike. 6 to 24 damage of bludgeoning and thunder. Wallop a foe with a fist of stone and thunder, and knocking them prone. So it looks like that's all the wild shape forms I have in the game so far, up until level 12. Thank you guys for watching. If there's anything you guys want to see me make in the future, let me know down in the comments. Don't forget to like the video if you enjoyed this. It helps me a lot. I'm a new YouTuber. I'm planning on doing some more videos from some of the other subclasses, showing what they unlock as well when they get to level 12. So thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate it.